Yeah. So in the fourth lesson we did first, because it was easy for you to understand and catch up and understand how we're going to proceed this year, because this time for history you have the chapters are big, lengthy lessons are there. So that is why we began with the fourth lesson first on the tribal revolutions and the tribal and forest society in India. But now we'll begin with a new lesson today, the French Revolution. And before we begin learning about this and how the events proceeded in France and what led to the event, we need to understand what happened and what were the developments in Europe, especially during the early 18th century. Because this revolution happened, it was for a duration of 10 years, from 1789 to 1799. So we need to understand what were the situations, the political situations, what was the society like, how the economy was, what was the life of people in Europe during the 18th century. So to begin with, I have a question, and I will give a name of the student, and only that student will answer if you raise your hands. I want to know, uh, you have studied history and you have studied other subjects in your previous classes. So do you have any idea, right from fifth standard you have studied? So can you tell me what do you think could have been happening in Europe during the 17th and 18th centuries? You have studied Indian history, so you should be having some idea about what was happening, what could have been happening, was happening in Europe during those times. Please raise your hands. Anybody? Okay, Soha, you want to speak? Yes. Yes, Soha.
Ma'am, at that time, in Germany, Hitler's rule was there, and so
No, I'm talking about
the
17th century.
he
Hitler was in 20th. Hitler was the first and second World War. You're talking about the second World War. I'm not talking to you about the 20th century. I hope you all are clear about how the history timeline works. I hope you know about the Anno Domini and how what BC means, AD means, CE means. So if we are talking about the 20th century, it will cover all the years before the year 2000. Okay, if you're talking about the 19th century, it will cover all the years before the year 1900. So my question was on the years of, specifically of the 18th century, which covers from the year 1st January 1701 to 1800. Why? Because the French Revolution happened between 1789 to 1799. So my question to you is, can you tell me what could have been happening in the 18th century in Europe during that time? What is your idea?
Industrialization, ma'am.
Very good. It was industrialization. Kritika has rightly answered. It was an industrial revolution that began in Europe and the United States. How it began, we have discussed this in previous class also. The colonization by Great Britain, you already know, 1600, in the year 1600, the Farman was sent to India by the Queen. Yes. And here, gradually, the hegemony of the Queen and the East India Company was established in India. So you know that the Industrial Revolution started from the 17th century, and there was an age of enlightenment. We call it the age of enlightenment, and we call it the age of reason, especially the years between 13th century to the year 18th century and 19th century in Europe. And it is also, especially the 18th century, 17th, 18th century is the centuries when the Industrial Revolution happened in Europe. So that is about the how the economy was like and what the society would have been doing. So now this is about the economic development in Europe. We have studied in the previous lesson also about how with the coming of the Industrial Revolution, the Europeans, they needed to do a lot of shipbuilding because mass production was happening. Industries were being established everywhere in Europe. So they wanted to find new markets and new places from where they could acquire raw material and sell off the finished goods also. So that led to large scale shipbuilding activities. And then there was the invention of the printing press, the invention of the steam engine led to the invention of the railways. Yes, we have studied that in the previous lesson. So that is about the economy, how the economy was growing very fast with the industrial revolution as compared to the east. In India, we were not going through any kind of industrial revolution. It mainly emerged in Europe. Okay, so now I'll proceed with this lesson on French Revolution, and I will first talk to you about the political situation, about the society of Europe, and also I will talk to you about the economy in what was going on in Europe during the 18th century. We are mainly going to focus on 18th century because this lesson is about French Revolution, and from here the new ideas of liberty, fraternity, and equality emerged. Okay, so let's begin. Some students are late. I request you all to be on time, children. It is very difficult and it is very distracting for me to admit you in the middle of the lecture. So please be punctual. Okay. Now, Europe in 18th century, as I've mentioned here, it was the age of reason or enlightenment. So enlightenment means, can you make out what this means here? Enlightenment means here that new philosophers and new inventions and discoveries were happening in the 18th century, and industrial revolution was happening. I have already explained this to you. Also, another important feature of Europe in 18th century was slave trade and human trafficking. Especially from Africa, slaves were being taken, they were being sold, and they had to work in plantations. We have studied that in great detail in the previous chapter, how there was a large scale, massive deforestation all across the world because the Europeans were trying to acquire different countries and they wanted to convert them in their colonies, and they were doing exploitation in those countries. And also one such feature of the 18th century is that growing slave trade, especially from the countries like Africa. So they used to take these people, they used to buy them, and then they did not consider them as humans. They felt that they are their they own them and they are some kind of a commodity. Just like we have a dog in our home, just like we have it, they were not considered as humans. They were considered as slaves. I hope you understand what a slave means. Any query here? Yeah, good. Also, when we talk about, I'll come to the third point here. When we are talking about the political situation in Europe at that time, there were no clear demarcations of countries as such during those times. Just like now in today's time, France it became a Republic of France after the French Revolution. Gradually over the years, it became a republic. I hope you know the difference between a republic and a democracy. Like America is a republic, France is a republic, our country is a democratic republic, and there are some features of democracy in Republican form of governments also. So the difference between democracy and republic, I'm sure you must be aware. Let me reiterate to you. A Republican form of a government is where the bureaucracy is more powerful, where the president or the prime minister, or whoever is in power, has more rights, and it is not easy to remove the bureaucracy from their position. Just like in India, India is a democratic republic. So whoever is there in the bureaucracy, who are the IAS officers or who have acquired important positions, it is not easy to remove them from their positions, from their place of powers. Okay, and on the other hand, a democracy is a country where people are more powerful. They have, if you're talking about a pure democracy, India is not a pure democracy, because if people have more power, they can remove whoever they have elected at any point of time. But a Republican form of a government is the one where the bureaucracy and the people in power have more rights. Okay, this is why in India it is known as a democratic republic. So when we're talking about Europe, children, at that time, there were no clear-cut demarcation or boundaries of the countries. In your next class also, you will be learning more about the 18th century Europe in 10th standard. You will be taking that is why you're studying French Revolution right now, so that you understand what will happen next. You will again come back to the 18th century in 10th standard. So that is why I'm elaborating on it. Okay, somebody is sending a chat message. Yes, decision making is there in democracy, of course, children. It is a parliamentary democracy. There is a difference between pure and direct democracy and parliamentary democracy. India has a parliamentary democracy. To make it more clear to you, parliamentary democracy means in the parliament you have the ruling party and the opposition party. The role of the opposition party is to find out the flaws in the ruling government or ruling party, and if there is a no confidence motion of more than 50 people, if they are not agreeing, the members are not agreeing, then the ruling party has to step down. But on the other hand, in a republican form of government, it is not easy to remove the bureaucracy. People do have power, people do talk about the rights, people do have some certain, they choose their representatives in a republic, but once the representative is elected, it is not easy to remove them from power. So that is the basic difference. And please raise your hands if you have any queries. Okay, so now this is the third point, the third most important feature of Europe in the 18th century is there were upheavals against monarchical and aristocratic powers that led to revolution, leading to ideas of liberty, fraternity, and equality. During those times, these ideas were very, very fragile. Today, when we look at the Indian Constitution, we look at if we take example from our country or any other country, today we are talking about democracy. We talk about the rights equality. We talk about equality for all, and there should be no, a discrimination against any race. We talk about being liberal, giving a chance to everyone. We talk about brotherhood. We talk about secularism. We talk about sovereignty of the people, of the masses, that it is the people's rule in the country. But these ideas were very, very fragile during the 18th century, and it was mainly after the French Revolution, which is also known as the Reign of Terror, that the despotic king was killed, and it led to the emergence of the new ideas with the at that time new political and new thinkers and philosophers were there who gave importance, who spread these ideas of liberty, fraternity, and equality. And that is why the monarchical form of government and aristocratic form of government, it fell off, and a new republican France emerged as a republic. Over there, the people chose their representative. Any doubts here? Please raise your hands right now, because if you have any queries, just let me know. Somebody's chatting here. Arya, what is aristocratic? Okay, let me clear this to you. Children, there are different types of governments. India has a democratic republic, and if you talk about China, it is a republic. If we talk about France, it is a republic. If we talk about United States, it is a republic. But when we talk about United Kingdom, Great Britain, it has a monarchical form of government. Monarchical form of government वैसा होता है, just like you have a king or queen, and when they die, their son only can become the king, or the daughter can become the queen, or just like the bloodline is followed. Okay, when the king dies, the son becomes the king. So that is known as a monarchical form of government. When we talk about aristocratic government, the nobles, the nobility, the ministers, they have more power. Just like it has happened in Indian history also, especially during the time of Delhi Sultanate, the nobles were powerful. They were rich also. The rich class or the nobles, they had more powers, and they take the main decisions, and the emperor and everybody follows them. If we take the example of China also, China had the system of examination system. They were bureaucrats. They were known as the bourgeois class, the capitalist class. They were far more powerful. Emperor has had his own place, but the bourgeois or the educated class had more power. So that is why it became a republic. And they had to give very tough examinations to become those bureaucrats. So that's why China is a republic. It is not a democracy. When we're talking about a democracy, even people, all kinds of people have rights and they choose their representatives. So that is a basic difference. Of course, you choose your representatives in a republican form of government also, but the bureaucrats and the people in power have more rights. Okay, so this is about the Europe in 18th century, how and what situations were going on in the 18th century. I will elaborate more about the society of of Europe, in Europe, in the upcoming slides. Okay, now first let us look at the next slide now. Any questions about the previous slide, children? You can raise your hands.
No,
Let me just check my chat. Upheaval. Somebody has asked me the question, what is the meaning of upheaval? Upheaval means some kind of a rebellion and revolt. Okay, upheavals against monarchical and aristocratic powers, the rich class and the kings, who were, whoever was a despotic or kings were there. Against them, some revolution started because of too much of exploitation. But children, remember, there is a difference between a monarchical government and a uh, despotic, rather, we call it aristocratic and autocratic. Sorry, autocratic. Autocracy is a kind of a government, just like in Cuba, you have Fidel Castro. Fidel Castro did not belong to any bloodline of kings. Okay, he was a leader. He became powerful, so he became an aristocrat. He became a aristocratic leader of the country. Not aristocratic, autocratic. I'm sorry. Okay, so there is a difference between monarchical and autocratic form of government. We still have it in many countries today. And a republican form of government, democratic form of government, and aristocratic is of the rich class, where there is a huge gap and difference between the rich class and the poor class. Okay, now again, some more questions are there on chat. Okay, what is a type of government in North Korea? Again, beta, it is monarchy. A dictatorship. Dictatorship or autocracy is one and the same thing. He's a dictator there, and he belongs to the bloodline also. He's a king. Okay, so that he's a dictator. So all these
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, if the people stand against the North Korean government, so that can be a democratic or a republic.
Right.
Right?
Yes, very, very true, but it is not so easy. Let me tell you, recently we already are going through this coronavirus situation over there. You don't find any corona patients there, because what Kim Jong does is, anywhere, wherever the patients are found, they are immediately, within few minutes, they are assassinated. So that is the power of the king, the dictator. Yeah, so it is not very easy to go against his decision. Whatever the king has, whatever the dictator has stated, everybody has to follow. Okay, that is what dictatorship is. And many countries in the world are still facing these kind of problems. So you are very lucky to be born in India and live in a democratic republic. Okay, now, so this is the background of Europe in 18th century. We will discuss this more, the society of France and Europe, in the upcoming slides also. Let's now quickly come to the next slide. Okay, ideas of liberty, freedom, and equality. Have you ever wondered how and where these ideas originated? So it is again, it's mainly in Europe, because age of reasoning and enlightenment began. Actually, it began in the 13th century, when various philosophers, thinkers, they started thinking. It is also known as the age of reason, and it led to industrial revolution eventually in the 17th and the 18th centuries. And then you already know how, I have already explained how the society, the economy and polity of Europe gradually changed. Okay, now when we talk about the French Revolution, Okay, as China, okay, Ritu has a question. As China has done this, is there any law by which countries can go against it? It is a very this is something which is a very diplomatically we have to solve these kind of issues, because if we become anyway, China has done, many countries are very unhappy with what the events have, how the events have unfolded. Everybody's angry and upset, and what to do about the present times. But right now the main onus is on tackling the situation rather, and we will think about it what, because many times we don't know what, how the situation will turn up like. So sometimes the decisions are based on that minute only. So let's just wait for some more time and let the situation get over, and maybe we'll get to know what is the outcome like against China or what will happen. Okay, children, now let's focus on the lesson. We don't want to waste any more time on discussing any other thing. We'll discuss it later. Okay, now the French Revolution happened between 1789 to 17. I'm sorry, I have done some typing error here. So please rectify that, okay? It's 1789 to 1799 that led to the coming of the new times. After the French Revolution, the Republic of France was established. A new system of governance, of course, a republican form of government emerged, wherein the people chose and people elected their leaders. Okay, the impact of new thinkers and philosophers had was there not only in France, but gradually it was spread all across the world, and there was an interpretation of these new ideas by other countries and the entire world. Okay, I hope the basic you have understood the basic situations and conditions of Europe in the 18th century. If you have any queries, let me know, children. Any queries from this slide? Okay, now would you like to watch a video, a quick video?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
Yes,
now I'm
ma'am.
going to share the screen for a video. Okay. Is this screen visible to all?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
You
Yes,
learn about
ma'am.
French society in the early 18th century and the circumstances that led to the French Revolution. On July 14th, 1789, over 7,000 citizens of France stormed into the Bastille in Paris. After killing all the soldiers, they dragged the governor of the Bastille through the streets, beat him up, and then decapitated him. His head was placed on a pike and paraded through the city.
This is a bit violent, so be I feel that you should be I hope you're understanding what was happening. It was very cruel. Okay, the way he was decapitated and his head was shown to everybody after he was taken out, because these people were very cruel. They were exploiting the people, the citizens of France. Okay, that is why these events were happening.
Revolution had begun.
Excuse me, ma'am.
The French
Yes,
Ma'am,
yes.
even though there were some good governors, even they were assassinated.
uh you will understand it better when you go through the events, children. You haven't understood the society so far. When there is too much exploitation, when people are living hand to mouth, you have understood that, I guess, in the previous lesson about the tribals, how they were rebelling and what were the situations that forced them to become so cruel. Okay, cruelty, how we come to that is such an extreme measures, and when we start adopting such extreme measures is when the humans are extreme exploited to beyond to their level of how much they can take. So these events will let you know people in those times were not like that. As I was telling you, the ideas of equality, compassion, peace, fraternity, brotherhood, equality, liberty, all those ideas are very fragile. Okay, it was a church which was important. If you talk about the religion, I missed the religion part. It was a church, and the king who was more important. The priests were more important. Just like in India, we had the caste system, the priests and religion, it becomes more important. So that leads to, certain decisions are taken by those people, the nobility, which were extreme, and it affected the masses. Okay, so shall we proceed now?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Revolution, starting with the storming of the Bastille and ending with the death of Maximilien Robespierre, spanned over 5 years. It tells the story of how the people decided to take their destiny into their own hands, rebel against feudal authority, and create a new republic. Many died. The streets of France were stained in blood. To understand what brought about the revolution, we need to go back in time. 1774. The ascension of King Louis XVI of the Bourbon family to the throne of France. Having become king at the tender age of 20, he had no idea of how to manage a kingdom.
Okay, at the age of 20, he became the king, and he was a monarch. Which year? 1774. Okay, he was the monarch of France.
King Louis was married to Marie Antoinette of Austria. Both Louis and
Austria was a neighboring country of France. Okay,
Marie led an extravagant life in their palace at Versailles. They remained unaware of the pitiful situation of the people in their kingdom. In one day, the royal household used to consume food that could feed a person for a month. In addition to the expenditure made by the royal family, King Louis decided to support the American War of Independence in their war against Britain, France's old enemy. In doing this, he increased France's debt to over 3 billion livres. To King Louis, the answer was simple: levy more taxes. The 18th century society.
I hope you're understanding. Because of his animosity with Great Britain, he was taxing the people. He was trying to extract more and more money to wage wars against Great Britain. Okay.
In France was divided into 3 estates. The first estate consisted of the clergy. The
Clergy means the church. Okay. This is the first estate.
second estate comprised of the nobility, and
The aristocracy. Okay.
the third estate, which formed about 97% of the population, consisted of the merchants, officials, peasants, artisans, and servants. The clergy and nobility did not have to pay any taxes. So, it was the third estate that had to bear all the brunt of Louis's taxes. To be born as a member of the third estate during those times was a curse. They had to pay taxes to the king and state, taxes to the clergy called tithes, a direct tax called tille to the state, and taxes to their nobles as feudal dues from the peasants. They had
Given in your book, name of the tax was tithe. Okay, all these things are given in your book also. Please refer to the PDF of the lesson also. Please read it also. Okay, so we have begun the first section of the lesson.
taxes literally ran the state. However, not all members of the third estate were poor. A very small fraction, called the middle class, was also a part of the Third Estate. This group consisted of educated people such as teachers, lawyers, artisans and merchants. They started to question the privileges being enjoyed by the nobility. Jacques Rousseau, an eminent philosopher of the time, wrote against the doctrine of the divine and the absolute right of the king. He and others like him dreamt of a society that provided freedom, equality, and opportunity for everyone, irrespective of which estate they were part of. Montesquieu, another philosopher of the time, actually wrote a book called The Spirit of the Laws, where he recommended that instead of the authority only being in the hands of the king, government authority needed to be divided into three wings: the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. John Locke, yet another philosopher of that era, is known for his famous.
Please make a note of all the philosophers: Rousseau, then you have John Locke and Montesquieu. All these are very important because they spread the ideas of liberty, fraternity, and equality. Okay.
Book, Two Treatises of Government, that sought to invalidate the principle of total power and authority of the king. So there was a growing sense of discontentment across all fractions of the Third Estate, right from the peasant to the merchant. All of them wanted change. In the midst of all these thoughts, the state decided, in addition to the existing taxes, to increase the price of bread. This was the last straw. People started fighting for bread. These bread riots, as they were called, increased to such an extent that anyone who hoarded bread was caught and killed. This led to a subsistence crisis, which means prime means of survival was threatened.
I hope you understand by subsistence the basic needs of humans. So they needed bread, and and the king he levied taxes on the bread also. So that was the last straw for the revolution to happen.
This is caused due to reasons like bad harvest, epidemics, and price hike, leading to a large gap between the rich and the poor. King Louis knew that the economy was in shambles. People were rioting on the streets. As a solution, he decided to convene the Estates General and put forth his proposal. However, as you will see later, this was just the beginning of a long list of problems that he was to face soon. You have now come to the end of this module. In this module, you learned that after the formation of the French Republic, the Reign of Terror began. Robespierre headed the convention and felt liberty could be achieved only through terror. Thousands of people were killed. In July of 1794, Robespierre was charged with treason and sentenced to death.
Yes, anybody has any questions here?
Excuse me, ma'am.
In the chat, ma'am.
Okay,
Excuse me,
you
ma'am.
written. Yes, yeah.
Ma'am, as in the video it was shown that he charged taxes on the bread also.
Yes.
But the people of the third estate were the ones who produced bread.
Yes.
So they were the ones who to decide what the price of the bread should be. So
No, they were not the ones. It was the king, it was the clergy and the nobility, the aristocracy. They were above them. They were the ones to decide everything. That led to, I told, as mentioned in the video, 97% of the population belonged to the third estate. So you can make out how angry the people would have become. And those times were, we are here in the 18th, we are talking about 18th century children. These ideas of equality and the ideas of peace, love, compassion were very fragile. Everything was very mechanical in those times. The church was most important. Okay, you have already studied about Copernicus and many such philosophers, thinkers. They were killed because they wanted to spread new ideas which was not approved by the church. So the church was most powerful in those times. As you can see at the top, we have the clergy. Okay, so it was the church which was making most of the decision, and the king, and plus the aristocracy was very, very exploitative. The number of only 3% of people belong to these estates, but the rest of the population, the lawyers, the educated the people and merchants, the peasants, and the other working class, they all belong to the third estate. So now here Ritu has asked this question about why did they tax the poor and not from the rich? So the taxes were only meant for the poor, or the third estate only. This was a rule like. Okay, children, we just have 1 minute left. Let's wind